Hey guys, it's me, and today I am here with a new video for you guys. And today we are going to be discussing my favorite music releases of the year 2025. Now, I'm doing my favorite releases video differently this year because you guys know, if you've been keeping up with me for the last couple of years, you know when it comes to me doing these videos, I have just been doing voiceovers with clips of music videos from these releases playing on in the background, and I'm not doing that this year. Now, clearly, because I'm sitting down in front of you guys this year. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because it's going to be so much easier for me to edit this video doing it this way. And I'm on leave right now, so I can focus on my mental health. I don't need to put myself in any more stress than I'm already have been dealing with. I am just now starting to decompress everything from all the stress that I've been through this year. I'm finally starting to get that under control. I don't need things to get bad again. Let me have some lovely time to myself. Like, editing this video would probably take me about maybe like 3 hours maybe, but when it came to doing it the previous ways, it would probably take me, including like scripting, recording the voiceover, and then especially the editing, probably about like 20 hours collectively. Like, I think I spent about maybe like 3 hours writing my script. Yes, I do have a script over here, so if you see me looking over, I'm reading the script. And these videos tend to not do the best at times, and so I was like, I don't want to be slaving away on something that's not gonna have that big of a turnaround. So we're being nice to ourselves, and we're going the easy route and doing like a sit down video for it. I will have some clips inserted here and there though, so don't worry. I'm still gonna make sure to keep it fun, but I am mostly gonna be here. This year was pretty interesting for music. I listened to quite a good amount of stuff this year, but at the same time though, like looking back at it, because I know I'm gonna be doing like another installment of music releases from previous years video and going over one of those. I'll do that next month. Thought about doing one this month, but I was like, I'm already doing this video. I don't want to bombard you guys with a bunch of rankings videos. I had filmed it already, but I want to refilm it because it was just way too long of a video. So I'm gonna rework it. Yeah, I listened to a lot of stuff in 2016. I think there was like nearly 300 releases on my list in 2016. Yeah, this year there are, how many did I have? 67 releases that I checked out this year. And I might have missed a few releases here and there and whatnot this year. This year I did a lot better than I did last year. Last year I missed out on quite a few releases, which kind of annoyed some people in last year's video, but just know that I tried my best to actually keep up with a lot of the releases that came up this year amongst like the kinds of bands that I get into. There were some releases that I did skip over purposefully this year, just simply because it's just like, I like the band, but they just, I don't know if I like them enough to listen to a full length. And then some of them is just like I completely forgot that they came out, and by the time I remembered to check them out, it's just like too late. So yeah. So now that I've discussed like those things a little bit long-windedly, let me go ahead and start doing my typical disclaimers for these kinds of videos. And the first one is that this is all based on my personal tastes and preferences. If you feel as if a release should be higher or lower on my rankings, or should not be on my rankings, or that a release should be on my rankings, that is a you thing, not a me thing. Yeah, don't take it personally. This is all my personal tastes and preferences. Second thing that I want to discuss is that if this is your first time coming across me, hi, hello. I am predominantly a metalhead, so majority of the releases that you're going to be seeing on this list are going to be metal releases, hence why it's titled my top 10 favorite metal releases of the year. I believe there are maybe 2 releases on my list this year that aren't metal releases, but just keep in mind that for the most part, we are going to be discussing some metal releases. More specifically, when it comes to the styles of metal that I listen to and typically like gravitate towards too. We are going to be talking symphonic metal, progressive metal, gothic metal, doom metal occasionally, and same thing goes for the occasional black metal release. Third thing that I want to touch on is that I am once again going to be including EPs in my top 10 rankings this year, because once again there weren't enough EPs to really scream at me. There were quite a few EPs that I really enjoyed, and you'll see that when we discuss the honorable mentions towards the very end of this video. But when it comes to like being like, oh, this is something that I gravitated to regularly enough to being like, it deserves to be on a rankings list, there were only but 2 EPs this year that did that for me. So I just lumped them into the top 10 releases altogether. And then similarly goes to like the albums. There weren't, I think there is only but 9 albums this year that really called to me, like 9 full-length albums that really called to me this year. And so because of that, it's just like, you know what? Let's bring in these EPs, and one of those EPs pushed out one of those albums. Since we're touching on like the EPs and albums thing, when it comes to me discussing my favorite releases, I will also discuss my favorite songs off of particular releases. And when it comes to having that particular conversation, when it comes to the albums, I will give you guys my top 3 favorite songs off the album. And when it comes to the EPs, I will give you guys my top 2 favorite songs off the EP. And the reason for it is just simply because there are more songs on a album in comparison to that of an EP, and because of that you have more to choose from, and so there's more to show off. The 4th disclaimer, yes, there are 4 disclaimers. I believe I have 5 that I have to give for you guys, so just we're almost done with this intro, okay? I promise you. But the 4th thing that I need to discuss with you guys is the time frame of which releases can make it onto my rankings videos. The cutoff is middle of November, so November 16th. Any release that comes out after November 16th is no longer eligible to make it onto my rankings list. So November 16th of the previous year up until November 15th of the following year, that is a current year right there for me. So November 16th of 2024 is when it starts, and November 15th of 2025 is when it stops. So any release that came out between this particular time frame is what's going to be making it onto my list. And the reason for this is just simply because it gives me more than enough time to actually give time and show time and love to these different releases that come out throughout the year, because I typically will start figuring out what my favorite releases are within the first week of December, and I want to be able to get the releases that have a much later release a chance at making it to my rankings. And a huge benefit to this, we actually saw this happen last year with Morning Sun's album that came out last year. It was a release that came out, I believe it was like late November when that album came out, and it made it onto my favorite releases of the year for last year. So the importance of having a wider window, or having like a little bit of an extra grace period going into like starting in the previous year to be like the kickoff and everything for like the current year, it really helps out a band, in my opinion, to like give them a chance of making it to my rankings and everything. And I believe a lot of people should start picking up this mentality as well. I think a lot of people typically do, but others may sometimes just be like, oh, if it didn't come out this particular year, then it does not deserve to be on a rankings for that particular year. But it's just like, I have seen cases where a release has come out on the very last day of the year. I've seen it happen. How is a release that comes out on the last day of the year going to make it onto anybody's particular rankings, because they only have but a day to really get into that release? And lastly, this is all just in good fun. Please don't take this too seriously and everything. This is all meant to be like a fun little thing and a way for me just to talk about something that I love very dearly, which is music, and to have this discussion with you guys. And so don't take things too seriously. We're just here to have fun. And so that is it for my little intro. So now let me go ahead and do my typical intro, which is that if you guys are new here to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. And also while you're down there, definitely give this video a like because that'll help me out a lot. All my links are down in the description box below, which are the links to my Twitter, which I don't really go on anymore, so follow me there at your own risk, my Instagram, and my beauty, fashion, lifestyle channels. So definitely check me out in those places down below if you are interested. And let's get started. Before we dive into this, I want to discuss my rankings and how I do my rankings before we get into the top 10. And while I do this, I'm going to pop up some honorable mentions and everything. These are releases that weren't necessarily favorites of mine, but they were releases that I still liked several songs off of, but they didn't stand a chance to make it to my top 10. So you guys are seeing those releases up on the screen right now. And so we have 8 EPs and 21 full-length albums that are in this particular portion here. Like I mentioned before, this doesn't mean that the release was bad. It just ultimately wasn't a favorite of mine. It wasn't something that I was drawn to very much and everything. It didn't keep me coming back time after time. I still want to be able to show some love to these releases because I'm sure that some of you guys might get interested in checking out some of these releases, because I know for me, one reason why I might check out a release is because the cover art looks cool. That's actually how I recently discovered a band called Filter Cover. They released an album last year, and I was just browsing on Shop app, saw that album's cover art, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. And I absolutely fell in love and have been obsessed with it. I think I listened to it about maybe 5 times over the past week. It is such an amazing album. Such a great album. I plan on ordering it by the end of the week. So now that we've gotten that taken care of, let's go ahead and actually dive into the rankings, starting out with number 10. And I am not even gonna try to pronounce the name of this album because the name of this album is in Hungarian, and this release is from Catafalque. I've known of Catafalque for quite some time. I learned about them several years ago. I want to say it was quite some time back, but I never really got too invested in them. But this album though, this album changed that. So they are described as a avant-garde metal band, which I fully agree with. I do agree with that description. I would describe their sound as experimental folky black metal. Their sound has always intrigued me with this sort of sense, because you can have a song go from that traditional folky black metal sound to having retro fantasy video game music. It's very interesting. It is such a bizarre and cool contrast, and I personally really enjoy it. I think that is a really cool sound and a great way to experiment with things and to just create something that's very cool and very different. But because of that, it gives you a sense of audio whiplash, because one moment you're having a really extreme black metal moment, and then you're going into a really chill, retro video game sounding moment. And then you're back to the extreme metal stuff, and it's just a little bit all over the place, but it's cohesive and absolutely chaotic. And if you are familiar with me, you know I love chaotic music. The more dramatic and theatrical, the more I'm going to love a release. I may not know a single word that was sung or screamed at me, but I definitely enjoyed this release. It was a lot of fun. Alright, and my 3 favorite songs, I will have them listed up on the screen. My 3rd favorite is... God, I'm gonna try to pronounce these. Cain. Second favorite is Mindanivo. And my number 1 favorite off the album is Vaskjær. Again, I am so sorry for butchering this. Again, it is Hungarian. I am not familiar with Hungarian whatsoever. Coming up at number 9, we have Between You, God, the Devil, and the Dead from Avatarium. This is a band that, as I am getting older, I'm becoming more and more excited about them. Like, when I first learned about them years ago, I was just like, yeah, this is some nice stuff. But as I've been getting older, I've been getting more and more into their releases. If you're unfamiliar with them, they are a doom metal band that's reminiscent of the doom metal style that came about in like the 70s and 80s. So think of them like Black Sabbath. So like very psychedelic kind of style, like doom metal, but still like a blend of like modern doom metal as well and everything. But it very much like, if you're into like that Black Sabbath style doom metal, you'll probably really enjoy their sound. One of the things that I've always have loved and enjoyed about their music though is the storytelling. The storytelling can be something that's either just very straightforward and it's just like regular storytelling. You don't really need to look deep into what a song might potentially be about, but sometimes their songs can be a bit deeper. Like it's a huge metaphor for something, like say like Moon Horse. Their song Moon Horse, like when you look at it on the surface, it's just like, this is a bit odd, but when you truly think about it, it is about someone from a very young age has a terminal illness and then eventually dies and is being whisked away by death to the afterlife. And when you realize that's what the song is about, it becomes so much darker and so bleak. But the package is so good. It's because of this style of storytelling that they do. They really know how to paint a picture with the lyrics, and they really know how to create a scene in a world. And just, again, the storytelling that these guys are capable of doing is just absolutely amazing. Is this release a lot of what we've gotten from them in the past and what we know that they are capable of doing? Yes. But it's how they've packaged these stories that they are telling in these songs that really sets it apart from the previous releases. The title track especially is one that is just something that is so special to me on this album. It's something so beautiful and so touching, and I don't really ever remember them doing something like this in the past. It really stands out to me from them. And my top 3 favorite songs off this album are My Hair Is on Fire But I'll Take Your Hand, Being with the Dead, and the title track, Between You, God, the Devil, and the Dead. Coming up in number 8, we have A Spark of Truth from Snow White Blood. This is the first EP that we have on the list here, and this is also how you do a release to show off that you have a new front woman. I will definitely miss Uli being in this band. I really will, because like her era with the band is just something so special to me. But the elements that their new singer Sarah is bringing to this band is going to open like new doors and new avenues for them, and this EP is pure proof of that. And not only that, but the fact that Uli passed the torch on to Sarah as well, like this was like a very like hands-on thing with like Sarah joining the band. Like Uli was part of like the selection process and everything, and gave this woman like a passing of the mic. It's just like, hey, she's the new front woman, have fun and everything. Like, welcome her with open arms. We love her, I love her, I hope you all enjoy her as well. And it's just amazing. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous, but holy tits, is Sarah like a powerhouse of a singer. She's got some insane vocals, and it is wild. Like, it is just, she is the perfect fit to be a follow-up to Uli. Like, we have like the whimsical vibes, and we have songs that are inspired by, if not actual retellings of fairy tales. But with Sarah being at the helm of the band now, they're being explored in such different ways, and it's a bit more dramatic, a bit more camp, and the dynamic is changing a lot, yet is still staying true to the core of this band. From the theatrical moments that we are familiar with to some scenes that are much darker than what we are used to hearing from them and that we haven't really seen them explore since their debut EP, to stuff that sounds like it's straight out of the power metal scene. This EP takes you on a journey through magical lands, and it's something that you will not regret experiencing. It is a really solid EP. And my two favorite songs off the EP are Shard's Dance and Open Sesame. Open Sesame is so good. Please go listen to that song. It's so good. If you need a song that really shows off the vocal prowess of Sarah, listen to Open Sesame. At number 7, we have La Vie by Anneke van Giersbergen. So this is the second and final EP on my rankings list this year, and it is this lovely little piece of work from Anneke, and I just love her so much. I wish that I would be able to go see her at Prog Power USA next year, because she's going to be at Prog Power USA with The Gathering and part of the celebrations for the 30-year celebration of Mendelian, which they will be performing that album in its entirety there, which I love that album. And I would love to be able to see her live again, but alas, tickets sold out so quickly. And I didn't even have a chance to be able to order a ticket because of work. So I will forever be sad. No, I'll have another chance to be able to see her perform live, but I want to see her live again. I want to see her live again. I've only ever seen her live once, and it was absolutely magical. I also got to meet her when I saw her live that time, so there's also that. This is more of a prog rock album from her, and it experiments a lot with itself in a way that I really enjoy, because it's definitely more rock. It's not a heavy release. It's very accessible, but I feel like it's still very much her and everything. Like, you can definitely tell like the influences of like 90s artists on this particular EP. And even though I really do enjoy it when Anneke does softer stuff like this, I also really appreciate the fact that we have some more theatrical stuff and more like rocky and like guitars and things like that happening on this EP as well, because I know her previous release was very stripped down. It's a very thought-provoking EP. It really makes you think about life and what makes us human. It's full of a lot of just beautiful and deep meaning messages wrapped in a package that's very easy to digest. And then you get the bluntness of When I Die, but we don't need to dive into that. The tenderness that she captures on this EP really shows, and I would love to be able to experience some of these songs live, especially my top 2 favorites off this EP, which we will go ahead and touch on those right now, which are Heal Me and One More Nanosecond. One More Nanosecond just touches me so much. It is such a beautiful song. I also really love When I Die. When I Die, it was between that and Heal Me for being my second favorite off the album, because that song is just stunning and just wonderful. But I like Heal Me just a little bit more. Coming up at number 6, we have Tsunami Sea from Spiritbox. Okay, hear me out. I know many people are probably going to be shocked to see this as more in the middle of the road and not higher up on my rankings, but trust me when I say that I love my top 5 more than I love this release. I absolutely love this album though. It is wonderful. It fascinates me how an album that is as pretty and atmospheric as this release is can also be packed with so much intense intensity and ferocity. It's proof as to why I believe that they are more of a prog band than a metalcore band. I know that they are a metalcore band at their core. I know that. But just how they explore music, it just screams prog to me. And I haven't heard a release from them that has like such a proggy feel to it from them in such a long time. It's been since the Singles collection, which came out years ago now at this point. I think that came out in like, when was it, 2019, I believe, when the Singles collection came out. Like, it's been a while since we've gotten something where you really get to hear the experimentation within the music on a release from them instead of it being a little bit more streamlined. We started seeing them making this shift back to this kind of vibe on the Fear of Fear, which I really enjoyed that EP, because that EP I think made it onto my top 10 ranking. Yeah, it made it onto my top 10 rankings that particular year as well. And that EP is absolutely wonderful. I still reach for Ultraviolet quite regularly and everything. I have it on a few playlists of mine. I just thoroughly love and enjoy that song. And this particular album captures that same kind of feel where it's almost kind of returning to like that blend of metalcore and prog. And that kind of sound is what made me fall in love with these guys all those years ago. The name of this album is so fitting because the emotions and the tones of this album very much are as deep, majestic, beautiful, and terrifying as the ocean. And something that I'm really curious about with these guys is if they come up with a theme or a concept before they start writing and getting a release into like pre-production and whatnot and start working on a release, or if it's something that just happens as they're creating it. Because this release, as well as like the Fear of Fear, they feel a little bit too calculated to not have a storyboard happening. My 3 favorite songs off this album are going to be A Haven with Two Faces, Black Rainbow, and Perfect Soul. I really love Perfect Soul. I also really enjoy the title track of the album, but I like A Haven with Two Faces just a little bit more. We are now in the top 5, and in 5th place we have Edge of the Abyss from Calva, Louise. So this is a band that I actually discovered this year, and I came across them through an Instagram ad, and the song that I came across on the ad, I was just like, okay, this is nice, I'll check them out. And checked out that particular song from the ad. I was like, okay, all right, let me see what else this band is about and everything, because this is like some cool stuff. I was completely blown away. I was not expecting the things that I heard from this album. It is absolutely amazing. It's so majestic and a bit all over the place, but it's cohesive. It very much has like a core to it because it's very experimental, but it can also smack you in the face with a sledgehammer. Like, you can have like moments that are like very like chill and easy to digest, and then it's just like a audio assault of things happening. And then like there's some bits where it's like a bit of like a groove metal kind of vibe where it's just like, for me, like, I know some people might find this to be a little bit unhinged, but like one of the reasons why I want to learn how to twerk is because there are some metal songs out there where I'm like, you know what, this is twerking music. I can twerk to this and everything. Like, I can twerk while sitting down, but I can't do so while standing. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. I know it's a weird thing to say, and especially when you find out which song that it is, it's just like, how? But you know what? It makes sense though. It also makes sense when you look at it from a distance and everything. You look at it from a distance, turn your head and squint your eyes. It's just like, oh, that makes sense. My top 3 favorite songs off the album are Tunnel Vision, The Abyss, and Umbral. And Umbral is my favorite song on the album, and that is that particular song that I mentioned that is just like, oh, this is twerking music. Like, There is some insane riffs happening, and each time that it comes on, I just start bouncing, and I'm just like, yes, yes, like, it's so good. At number 4, we have *ARCHETIPI* by Geri Heil. I learned about Geri Heil like I feel like a lot of people learned about her, and that is through her performance at Eurovision in 2023, where she represented Ukraine with the song Teresa and Maria along with Aliona. Now, I actually had known Aliona for a little bit because she did a song with Space Variation. But in case you don't know who Geri Heil is, she is a Ukrainian pop artist, obviously, but she is also a mezzo-soprano. From what I've gathered, at least. She might be like an actual soprano, but there's like that depth to her voice that's very common with mezzo-sopranos that's in there. And so that's why I'm thinking that she's a mezzo-soprano. But anyways, I decided to give this album a go because I really love Teresa and Maria. Love that song. I checked out the EP that she put out last year. I think it's also called Maria. And I really enjoyed the EP. I thought that it was nice, but when I saw that she had a full-length album come out, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's check this out. Let's see what this is about. And like last year and even this year, wait, was it this year? Yeah, this year still. Like, I know last year, Teresa Maria was my favorite song of the year according to Spotify, and then even this year it was still my favorite song on Spotify, which is weird to me. I feel like I didn't listen to that song that often this year, but I guess I did. But this particular release really shows off her capabilities of a singer, and also the fact that she's into a lot of different styles of music, which I kind of got the vibe. You kind of get the vibe if you're like a metalhead and everything, because I mean, like, she did a song with Within Temptation. She did, I think it's called Sing Like a Siren, Scream Like a Siren, one of those two. I did a reaction video to it, and it's a lovely little song, and this particular release further just pushes that narrative along, that it's just like she's not just a one-trick pony. She's not. She can do a lot of different styles of music, like classical, pop, hip-hop, R&B, rock. There's a little bit of industrial on here. There's some ambient stuff. There's club music. There's hyperpop. This album, there is something for everybody on this album, and it is so interesting. It does give you a bit of that audio whiplash in the sense that it's just like there's no real set genre to it and everything. I would say like the first half of the album is pretty consistent with style and vibe, and then the second half of the album is where it starts getting more experimental and like playing around with different genres and everything, because it starts out being like more like chill pop music with some classical elements thrown into it, like some soprano moments and everything. But then the second half of the album, it just starts getting really experimental and just starts really exploring different genres. I know that she has also continued to drop some singles this year after the release of this album, and those singles continue to prove that she's not just a one-trick pony, that she is capable of doing so many different styles of music. And I would love to see her do something a little bit more honed in the future. And honestly, I would love for her to be able to do a symphonic metal album. I know that's a little bit unlikely, but at the same time though, I think that it's something that could be very possible for her, and I think that it would be something that is just absolutely impressive if she were to do something like that. But who knows, maybe the closest that we'll get to that are like some of the rocky songs that she's done on this album, as well as the collaboration that she did with Within Temptation, which wasn't even a metal track, it was like a theatrical song of theirs. And my 3 favorite songs off the album are Anima Mea featuring Misha Pravilny. Then we have, oh god, I am going to struggle with these a little bit. I do apologize. Kvili. I think it's pronounced Kvili. And then we have, I I do not speak Ukrainian whatsoever, but I love Ukrainian pop music, as you all know. Now it is time for the top 3. This is where things are getting crazy and fun, okay? Because I'm gonna start probably pissing off some people coming in here with the top 3. But this is also where things get fun because I have all 3 of these releases on vinyl. So I'll actually be able to show you guys the vinyls. So coming up in number 3, we have Heretics and Lullabies from Frayle. So Frayle is a band that I have known about for a little while. I haven't known about them for too long. I learned about them, I want to say, in 2022 or 2023. I haven't known of them for too long, but they are a doom metal band. I remember the first song that I heard from them was Skin and Sorrow off of an album of the same name, and I thought that it was really interesting. It was very different from what I'm used to hearing from like doom metal. It was a little bit drony of a track, which I typically don't get into, like the more drony stuff, but her voice, like Gwen's voice, really stood out to me because it's just like very gentle, very delicate vocals, but then crushing guitars. It was very interesting and just very different. We all know that I deeply love and adore Aaliyah Sandbridge of Trees of Eternity, and Aaliyah's voice was very much similar in a sense of where it's just like a very gentle voice with heavy guitars around her, but Gwen's voice is on a completely different level because it's almost whispery. And back then I thought that their sound was pretty interesting, but I didn't really explore it much at all. But they had signed to Napalm Records recently, and this album was actually released under Napalm Records, and it's because of the fact that I follow Napalm Records on Instagram that I started seeing the promos for this album come out a lot, and I was just like, okay, they're pushing this release a little bit hard right now. And then I saw that they had a cover of Summertime Sadness by Lana Del Rey on this album, and I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. When I tell you that this album took me places that I was not expecting it to take me, I was not prepared for this release. Like I mentioned before, you have these crushing guitars, this delicate voice, and you also have these dreary and spooky lyrics. It just makes for just such a beautiful and insane blend of music. Like I said, it's like Aaliyah Sandbridge meets Billie Eilish. It's such a unique sound. Her voice just adds that dramatic contrast to everything that's happening around it. And it's both so pretty, but it can also be just so unsettling. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started listening to the album, I was just like, okay, alright, it's alright and everything. But then it just started growing on me as it progressed. And before I knew it, I had been listening to the album for an entire week. Like every time I was in the car, I'm listening to it. I'm randomly singing songs when I'm just out and about here at home or wherever. It's dark, it's heavy, it's pretty, it's spooky. And I wish that I could have been able to see them when they were here in Atlanta, but sadly, I not only had to work that night, but I was also in the beginning stages of when my nerve pain was flaring up as well, because my nerve pain flared up last month and it was in the early stages of that. So going to a metal show when that's happening would not have been a good idea. I've been to a metal show at the tail end of a nerve pain flare up before, but never at the beginning. And I can only imagine how cool, strange, and just absolutely entrancing that show would have been, because I just know that it would have just been something absolutely magical. And my 3 favorite songs off the album are Walking Wounded, Boo, and Souvenirs of Your Betrayal. God, please listen to that song. Please listen to that song. It is so good. Coming up in second place, we have Aspiral from Epica. Okay. I know. Hear me out. So my top 2 releases this year are basically tied. I struggled so hard between getting 2 and 1 this year because they, like I said, they are tied for me. And so the only reason why this album is number 2 and not number 1, and my number 1 is number 1 and not number 2, is something so minuscule and everything. And that is that there are 2 songs on this album that I'm like not madly in love with, unlike the rest of the album. Whereas with my number 1 pick, there's 1 song on that album that I'm not madly in love with in comparison to the rest of the album. And so, yeah, it's something as simple as that is what I had to consider. And when I tell you that it took me 2 weeks to settle on the positionings for these 2 albums, I did not make this decision lightly, so please don't be mad at me. Again, this is all in good fun. This is all personal preferences, but this is how I feel and everything, and just be nice to me. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, this album is just absolutely brilliant. I know that not everybody was into this because it is a very accessible album, and it's very different from all their previous releases, and because of that, it is very polarizing, and I very much understand that. But there are things that they do on this album that we have never seen them do before, and that's what made this so much more cool to me, is that it's just like we've never seen them explore this kind of sound before. Like, and I called that they were going to be doing a modern release 2 singles into this album and everything. Like, I called it. I was just like, I think this is gonna be a modern metal styled release, because like different releases of theirs have that Epica core, but then there's a particular subgenre that they'll kind of branch into a little bit to explore their sound a little bit. It's kind of similar to how like Oceans of Slumber will redefine their sound each release, but just not as dramatic as what they've done. Granted, this is a pretty dramatic shift in tone for them, because there are times where it's just like very much symphonic modern metal, but then there are times where it's just like, oh, this very much sounds like an Epica song and everything, what we are used to hearing from them. I also really love the fact that they explored with more atmospheric stuff, like what we got on the Alchemy project. I mentioned when I talked about the Alchemy project when that EP came out, because that made it onto my favorites that particular year, I mentioned that I loved the more atmospheric stuff that we heard on it, because it was something so different to hear from them, to hear them explore, again, something that's a bit more airy and just flows very evenly and softly and isn't too in your face and everything. It's a bit more toned back, but still feels like Epica and everything. I'm talking like songs like Sirens of Blood and Water and The Minor, like those particular songs. And on this album, we have stuff like that. And I also really love, as someone who has been listening to this band since I was 13, I am 30. I have been listening to this band for 17 years. Oh my god, that is wild to think about. I also love the fact that we got a return to a new age dawns, which almost makes me hope that on the next album that we get from them, we'll get a return to the embrace that smothers. I would love for that to happen. I don't think it will ever happen, but I would love for that to happen again. I know that there are like 9 parts to the embrace that smothers, like now there are 9 parts to New Age Dawns. But still, I would love for them to expand upon the Embrace as Mothers because I love that saga so much. This entire album is just nothing but bold decisions, like going in a modern direction, bringing back A New Age Dawns. Another really bold decision of theirs is to have no intro orchestral track. This is the first release that they have done, minus the EPs, that does not have a orchestral intro track. Like, all of their live CDs and DVDs have an orchestral intro track. All of their full lengths leading up to this have a orchestral intro track, except for this one. That is a huge, huge decision for them to make. It's very bold because that is really telling that they are like trying out new things. They're branching out and exploring new things. It also ties into this album going in a more modern metal direction. Another really big, bold decision of them to make on this album is the fact that the title track is a nearly 6-minute long ballad track that is very stripped back for a majority of it. First of all, you don't really ever see bands making a title track of an album be a ballad. You rarely ever see it, if ever at all. And then for this band to make their title track not only that, but also a song that isn't like 8 to like 12 minutes long like we are used to hearing. Well, actually, do they have it? Yeah, the Quantum Enigma is nearly 12 minutes long. And then you have the Outlier, which is the Divine Conspiracy, which is 13 minutes and 56 seconds long. Yes, I know how many seconds are in that particular song, just like how I know The Poet and the Pendulum from Nightwish is 13 minutes and 52 seconds long, okay? I am a diehard for these particular songs, okay? Don't come for me. There is just so much amazing stuff on this album. Again, I understand that it's a very polarizing release, but for me, this release was just absolutely magical. And what further breeds magic into this release for me is the fact that after all these years, after nearly 2 decades of being in love with this band, I finally got to see them live this year. I got to see them live at the Masquerade in Atlanta. And not only that, but I also got to meet them. And it was, again, just absolutely magical. Their set was amazing. I cried 3 times during their set. And most of those tears happened during Chasing the Dragon. And when I was doing the rankings, it was because of the experience of being able to hear some of these new songs live that was kind of influencing me to put this in my number 1. But I'm like, that whole experience is what's clouding my judgment here. And so, again, that bias was making me want to put it in my number 1. And so when I took that bias out, then it's just like, okay, number 2 seems like the best spot for this release. Even though I still, like I said, it's tied for my number 1, I had to put in number 2. And I still consider this to be tied for Album of the Year for me this year. But like I said, for the sake of putting things into numbers and into order, is my number 2. And my 3 favorite songs off this album are Obsidian Heart, The Grand Saga of Existence, A New Age Dawns Part 9, and Arcana. And speaking of Arcana, there may or may not be a vocal cover of that in the works at the moment, so keep an eye out for that in the kind of sort of distant future, because I don't know how long it's going to take for me to be able to get around to filming that video. Alright, so now that we have covered positions 10 through 2, it is time to cover the 11 EPs and 15 full-length albums that did not make it onto my rankings. Now, you're going to see them pop up on the screen and everything, and obviously I love my top 10. My top 10 is very, very special to me. But I do want to give some shout outs to a few releases this year because I really enjoyed them and I just want to give them special little shout outs. We're going to start out with a few EPs here, and the first one that we're going to touch on is Through New Eyes from Elina Laivera. So Elina is a bit of an internet friend of mine. We've kept up with each other loosely over the years, and we haven't spoken too much in recent years, but I still keep up with her music though. And because I have just loved her work from the very beginning, when I first learned about her back in 2013 when she was in Seduce the Heaven, which was a progressive metal band that came out of Greece. And she now makes music on her own with her solo project, and it's a blend of like cinematic pop music with some like R&B influences. And this particular EP really shows the growth that she's made within not only herself, but also as an artist. And it's such a beautiful release, and the title of this EP is very fitting for it. The Dark Tetrad from Tulip is a really cool EP, but this particular EP is the first EP in a series of 3. And I'm really curious as to what all this is going to be like. I don't know if they are all connected in some sort of way, if they all tell like a collective story, or there's a particular theme involved. I don't really know. But like I said, it's a part of a little trilogy of EPs that they got coming. It's fast, it's heavy, it's proggy, it's modern, and there is a very strong symphonic metal track on this called The Devourer, which features Kristen Starkey. Yeah, Kristen Starkey. She's in Temperance. And oh my god, that song is so good, and really shows off the fact that Ashley is a soprano, and we get to hear those moments from her again, and I love that about that on that track. That song alone nearly made it get it onto my rankings this year, but I was just like, no. Let's take a step back and look at it. And it's just like, I don't like it enough for it to be on my top 10, but I love it enough to be able to like give it an honorable mention. Occulto 001 from Cain Culto is a really cool release. So I learned about him randomly by finding the music video for KFC Centria, and I had no clue what to expect, but what I got out of it was something that was so cool. It was spooky, it was queer, and it was fun. And I absolutely love it. He's a Latino pop artist, and this EP is very fun. It's very gay, and again, it's pretty spooky. And I also love the fact that he recently did a collaboration with a Ukrainian pop artist that I'm starting to get into a little bit more, and that is Elina. She was originally supposed to represent Ukraine in, I believe it was 2022. Yeah, in 2022, she was originally supposed to represent Ukraine, but she pulled back and everything, and instead we got Kalush Orchestra. And I've heard a few of her songs, and she's got some really good stuff. But yeah, the two of them collaborated together on a song recently, and their vibes are like perfect for each other, because it's like spooky Ukrainian folklore kind of stuff that Elina will explore at times, and then Cain Culto, he's exploring like spooky, queer, area and everything, like that kind of vibe. Such a cool blending of sounds, and highly recommend you guys check that particular song out. It's so cool. Harmonies Unveiled from Marcela Bovio is stunning. I have been obsessed with Marcela and her work, both in and out of the metal scene, for so many years now. Again, I think I've probably been into like her work for about 17 years. Like, I just love this woman so much. This EP, I did not know that I needed it, but I am so happy that it exists. Features several singers on there. We have Marian of Autumn, Mickey of Sawulo, and formerly of Into the Dream. And I'm not sure if her project Porcelain is still around, but she was also in a project called Porcelain, so I'm just going to mention it here. And then there's another singer named Nina involved in this as well, which I don't know of anything that she's been part of. I don't know if she's just a random Dutch singer or what, I don't know, but she's featured on this. The three of them are harmonizing and doing backing vocals on some songs that Marcela has done with her solo career over the years, and I'm pretty sure that there's a original track on here. I've seen it all before. I'm pretty sure that's a original track for this EP, but yeah, it is stunning. Absolutely stunning. Definitely go check this out. And the last EP that I want to discuss, there are a lot of EPs that I wanted to discuss here, but the last one that we are going to touch on, I'm not sure if you would consider this to be an EP or a full-length album. I put it under EPs just simply because it was under 9 songs and the runtime of it was 30 minutes, so I put it under EPs. But this is House of Grief from Cammie Gilbert. So Cammie is the lead singer of Oceans of Slumber. For those of you who do not know, which if you watch me and everything, you know who she is and everything. And this EP, or full length, whatever you want to refer to it as, this release is stunning. It is gorgeous. We get a very different side of her on this, and we've heard her dabble with soul with Oceans of Slumber over the years, but this solo release here fully explores that, but puts it on a dark spin. And I just love it. Like, there are moments where it kind of sounds like it's gonna go in like an industrial direction, almost kind of like, what's that band called? I think they're called Emptiness, I think is what they're called. I believe that it's like a blend, it's like black metal meets experimental music, like ambient music. It's very strange. I believe they're called Emptiness. But it's kind of similar in that kind of vein where it's just like very dark ambient production, but with a soul vocal on it. And it's really beautiful. There are some gorgeous things happening on this release, and it was very close to making it onto my rankings, but I like my top 10 just a little bit more. Like if it weren't for that Catafalque being a release that I gravitated towards so much, this definitely would have made it onto the top 10. I would be so curious to hear what these songs would be like hearing them live. I know that it's a bit unlikely to be able to hear this release live, especially with knowing that like Dauber and Cammie, they had their baby this year and everything. They brought in the new baby Beverly into the world and everything this year. And so it's just one of those things where it's just like, don't really know what's going to be happening in the distant future. I would love to be able to potentially experience some of these songs live, because like I said, there's a lot of wonderful things happening on this release. And I don't know when I'll be able to see these guys live again and be able to hang out with them and everything, but hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully I'll remember to like actually reach out to them as well and just be like, hey, I know I'm being a horrible friend by not reaching out to you guys, but hi, how we doing? I've been going through a lot this year. This has been a rough year for me. I cried in therapy today. But I will say this, I started antidepressants last week, so yay for that. Alright, so now let's start touching on honorable mentions for like albums. So first one that we have here is Venom from Enemy Inside. As we all probably know, I really love and enjoy this band. I have done reactions to a lot of their stuff over the years. I know they put out a music video for the bonus track that they put out for the album, and I decided not to do a reaction to it. I did check it out though, and I really enjoyed it. But for those of you who are familiar with me reacting to them, you know that it's just like, I love this band and I love thirsting over Evan. Like, I thirst very heavily over this man. He is so fine. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, this album really shows the fact that they are like willing to explore their sound and still staying true to themselves, but again, going in different directions. It's still very much a modern metal sound that they have had over the years since the beginning, but they started incorporating more of like a metalcore vibe to it. It's a really cool release. I highly recommend you guys check it out. I thought that it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff happening on this album. Okay, so Artifacts by Ancient Bards. This was such a fun little album. I've known of these guys for years, for many, many years now, for over a decade, but I've never really dug deep into them aside from listening to a few singles here and there. So when I saw that this album was coming out and everything, I was like, no, let's actually get around to checking out something from them. And holy tits, this album is so good. The first half of this album is really nice, but the second half of it just goes in, and it is such an insanely wild ride, and it's so good. It's theatrical, it's fun, it's cinematic, it's emotive, it's powerful. It's just so good. Such a wonderful release. If you're going to listen to anything off this album, go listen to Ministers of Light. You'll thank me later. It's so good. The last one that we have is going to be Duel from Ginger, and hear me out. I know this is probably one of the releases that might upset people that didn't make it onto my rankings, but I love my top 10 even more. I did enjoy this album a lot. Apparently Spotify said that it was I think my 4th or 5th favorite release of the year because of how many times I listened to it. I wouldn't say that it was like an actual favorite of mine compared to everything else that made it onto my list. That being said though, however, I still really enjoyed this release. This release shows a very different side to the band. I feel like this particular release, we got a very emotional side of Tati, which I really appreciate. I appreciate that a lot because we obviously get what we know and love from this band, so like the heavy riffs, the fun grooves, the monstrous vocals, but the emotional touches that they put on this release really set it apart from the previous releases, and that is what I really enjoyed about it a lot, is that it's just very different on a lyrical and vocal standpoint, because again, it's very heavy and everything. We get those monstrous vocals, but Tati's voice sounds really pretty on this album at times too. Like, we get some very delicate moments with her voice. And now it is time to announce the album of the year, which is 1,000 Little Deaths from Blackbriar. Look, I'm just as shocked as you guys are that this album has that one hair that beat out a spiral. But here we are. This album is just an absolute treat from start to finish. If you want to see my initial reaction to this album, I actually have an album reaction to this release. Like, it's the one and only album reaction video that I have up on my channel. It's the first one that I ever done, and you can check it out and everything. It's a long video, so get comfortable because I react to the songs in their entirety. But I love this release. Like, it is such a gorgeous follow-up to A Dark Euphony, which was my album of the year when that album came out in 2023. I know I mentioned this in that reaction video to this album, but I want to mention it here because I listened to this album a lot. This was my #1 listened to album of the year, according to my Spotify Wrapped. I honestly believe that it was a tie between this and A Spiral. Like, I feel like they were just neck and neck, but I think I overall listened to this album just a tiniest bit more, just simply because it is a little bit faster to listen to. I think it's not as long as A Spiral is, but I mentioned in that reaction video that I felt as if this might be their darkest release that they've done, and I still very much feel that way. No, it's not the heaviest release, but the darkest release. I just feel like the tones in like the lyrical themes and whatnot are just a little bit darker and a bit more dreary than they've done in the past, and I just absolutely love it. Like, we have the things that we know and love from them, like the gorgeous atmosphere, the stunning harmonies, like lyrics influenced by fairy tales and literature, and a very strong production. But there's also so many things on here that we've never really gotten from them either. Like, there's a lot of new things here. Like I mentioned, there's like that darker tone, like it's a bit more dreary, it's more melancholic throughout the entirety of the album. Like, there's just this really dark, broody atmosphere that just really emanates on this release, and it's so much more palpable than on previous releases from them. Sure, there are some like upbeat and lively songs on here, but they still have that somber tone and that core to them that further makes me believe that this is a much darker release from them. Something that I've always have loved with their music is how they approach storytelling in the lyrics, and I've always have loved that. But one thing that I really love about this particular release is that there are some stories they are telling in this that are actually influenced by pre-existing ones, and how it's written, it allows you to almost be able to insert yourself into those stories by taking like themes of a particular story and relating it to the human experience. And that is something that I just really enjoy. And there are some like stories that they've kind of hinted at, or like vibes that they've hinted at with like previous songs and previous releases and everything. But it's, again, with making it more personal, it's not them rehashing it or retelling a story at all, but more so changing the narrative of it. It is just something that I was just listening to for weeks on end, like Aspiral. Like, I think I probably listened to this album for like 2 weeks straight, I'm not gonna lie. And also I was in the top 1% of their listeners this year, according to Spotify Wrapped. And it's just like, I don't typically like promote that sort of thing, because it's just like with how I use Spotify and everything, it's just like, it's hard to gauge things with how I use Spotify because I listen to so much music and everything, and I tend to like listen to albums as opposed to like just random songs and whatnot. Like for me, it's just like I'll put on an album and let it play on repeat time and time again and whatnot whenever I'm checking out new releases. And then like if I'm listening to an old release, again, I start at the very beginning and listen to it all the way through to the very end. Hell, on my way home from my Florida trip, I think for the most part, I was just listening to Blackbriar the entire ride back home. I know I listened to 1,000 Little Deaths, A Dark Euphony, and The Cause of Shipwreck. I know I listened to all 3 of those albums on my way back home from my Florida trip back in September, but it's just like, yeah, which Spotify Wrapped also pointed that out to me. They were just like, yeah, you were really into Blackbriar that day. I'm like, no shit, I was on the road for like, how long was I driving for? Like 9 hours that day? Of course I'm gonna be listening to a lot of fucking music that day. My top 3 favorite songs off of this album are going to be Harpy, Choreography, and Green Light Across the Bay. Please, please go listen to that song. If you listen to anything on this album, please listen to that song, because it is just stunning. Absolutely stunning. And those are my top 10 favorite albums of the year 2025. What do we all think about it? How did you guys feel about these releases? Did you check out any of these releases that we discussed today? Did they make them onto your rankings? And if not, what did make it onto your rankings this year? I'm always down to see what other people are listening to and are really into throughout the year. So definitely let me know as to like what made it onto your rankings and everything, and if you checked out any of these releases. And if you haven't checked out any of these releases, like, are you wanting to check them out after seeing this video from me? If so, please let me know which ones you're wanting to check out, because again, please go do so. I love recommending music to people. That's a big part of the reason why I do these videos and create music content here on YouTube, is because of the fact that I just love sharing music with people. I love doing these videos in particular because of the fact that I get to do that, especially. This is just like, not only do I just get to talk about music for like a long period of time and everything for a video, but I also get to recommend stuff to you guys and everything. Like, this is stuff that I listened to this year and thoroughly enjoyed, and I want you guys to check them out. That's gonna be it for me today. I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you guys have a great holiday season and are enjoying the holiday season. I hope you all have a lovely new year, and I will see you guys in my next video whenever that might be. So until then, goodbye.